Okay, this is Ryan with the Magical Mind. We got Joseph and we got Tony here. And me! Okay,
Yippee.
Hey, what up?
okay.
You can hear the enthusiasm, right?
Cut us all off. So is that what we're talking about today? Or are we just doing Mother Goddess? Or what are we doing?
Well, he
No,
was
I
talking
think-
about that book, Dakini Land, and how that the Buddha aspect of the Naropa. Well, you go ahead and say what you were saying, because well, it was you that was saying it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
well,
that was gold, dude.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just saying that, shit, I can't remember what the fuck I said.
Well, he was talking about
I-
Naropa and the divine feminine and the Buddha.
Well, I was saying that a lot of people realized that, you know, the divine feminine was considered as the Buddha can confer the fastest enlightenment in one lifetime to a human being, and that's why the most widely known, like the most loved yogis of the Himalayas, you know, like Naropa, Milarepa, and so on and so forth, that they were actually their main Buddha, which they focused on, was Vajrayogini, which is a feminine Daikini, which usually is considered like a spirit or a jinn or like a demon in our culture, but to them. So this is in my opinion, I feel like this is like the divine feminine, or like the divine wisdom behind the nature of all things.
Well, even the Tao speaks of that. Like the Tao starts out as, I can't speak of the eternal Tao. The eternal Tao is like mother of 10,000 things or some shit. I'm horrible at quotes, but
yes, you know.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about. It's like the eternal, the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao.
yeah.
Basically, is what that's saying. But yeah.
Yeah, it's saying he can speak of the nature of things, but he can't speak of like God. But he knows it's there.
Mm. He can speak of the nature of it, but he can't speak of the essence itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he totally makes it feminine.
Yep. And this other brother, he was talking about how he feels like, you know, that kind of resembles the concept of the holy guardian angel.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of does. It's like that whole body of light concept on a higher, level of our dimensional existence. So.
Yeah. And you know, and I was going through this, the means by which they can achieve this, and it sounds a lot to me like magic, you know, ceremonial magic. You know,
Well,
what
when
they
we were just
doing.
talking about astral projecting, we were talking about it was more of the Kabbalistic cross and like you becoming that God figure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's it's part of the Kabbalistic cross. But like I was saying, you don't really have to mention the angels if you don't necessarily want to, the archangels. But in one of the best visualizations I've seen of that growing into the center of the universe, if you want to call it anything, is you leave your feet on the ground. I mean, you keep visualizing your feet on the ground, at least at first.
Right.
So you got that stand, you got that stance, you got that grounding, but then you just make yourself larger and larger and larger before you're taller than the solar system. I mean, you're taller than the galaxy, to the point where you're so tall, you're at the center of the universe. And at that point, there is no north, south, east, west, because there is no fucking north.
And that's how the visualization, you know, from Israel, the Israel takes.
Yeah, it's similar to it. Craig, I think he adopted Israel Regarde's visualization of it like that.
Yeah,
you just have pretty much what's above you, behind you, in front of you, below you, to your right and to your left, and there's really no thing other than direction than once you can judge by your own perspective. Your own perception is all that you can really see at a certain point. Of course, then you start doing all the the divine names and stuff like that. And what it creates is it creates a star. It turns you into a star in the center of the universe.
And a lot of paths say we're all stars.
Yeah, it's Ata, Gabor. Let's see, Ata Makut. Damn, I can't even remember that right now. Give me just a second.
It's Ate,
Makut,
Maku,
Gdula,
Lagura,
Gilam. Yeah,
Gadula,
Amen.
Laolam,
What
Amen.
that is it's thine is kingdom, power. Actually, it's mercy, not glory, and then it's forever and ever. But what you're doing while you do that is you're visualizing rays of light going out to your right shoulder, your left shoulder, above you, below you, in front of you, and behind you, and you're creating this big white star that has 1, 2, 3 axes. Yeah, 3 axes. So.
That would make
Yeah, it's really neat to kind of look at yourself in that sense and just reaching out to eternity in whatever direction you go. You know, as far as light will travel.
Yeah.
And well, so the reason why I was bringing that up is because, and it reaches to the concept of the divine feminine in the sense that a lot of people don't realize that, you know, they're talking about the highest tantra or the divine feminine or whatever, but the whole idea is the transforming oneself into the divine feminine itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily a divine feminine because it has a vagina or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an energy.
And Tony have talked about that before.
Yeah, go ahead and finish what you're saying, and
you know, and that's why like even Israel Regardie was coming up with a concept with Isis at every sphere of the tree of life, you know, so it's all encompassing, you know, it's not severity, you know, pillar of severity, you know, or like the male pillar, the female pillar. It's a completely different concept than that. It's it's beyond that, you know.
Well, that's why when you get to deep understanding, okay, you got 3 pillars. Only one of those pillars exists. It's a pillar of enlightenment, the quick path, you know, like you were just saying. You know, so there is no opposite of poles. There's only balance. I learned that on acid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you learn a lot of shit on acid, you know.
Yeah, right.
Some shit that's not true also. But, you know.
Right.
You can open up your mind to perception on acid that you normally wouldn't see, but there's some things that just, you know, there's nothing profound about it. You're looking at a pile of dog shit.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's really cool. I never looked at it like that. Well, just keep that in mind and keep looking at it, but don't really get into the essence of it, okay? Because otherwise, you and I are done for the night.
Right? When I do hallucinogens, I always go in it going, I am going to have a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
And I always fucking do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I would have done that as a kid.
You know, I did that too. I did shit. We could talk about shrooms. I did shrooms once with the purpose of going and, you know, having a spiritual experience. I came out realizing that, you know, the very fact that the first thing what lived in land was not plants, but even before plants was mushrooms, right? Like, I don't even know. Over 1 million years of just mushroom land, right? So it's crazy to think about the fact, you know, that well, not a fact, but, you know, it's entirely possible that these mushrooms became and created us. I had this, you know, because you know how in the Bible we created man want to be alone. So it's crazy to think about, you know. But I had that experience on mushrooms that they actually, and that's why when you take it, you feel like you're in communication with something that wants. It's like it's just giving you images of things that are making you feel like you're friendly, you're communicating with the mushroom. I had experience. I was communicating with the fucking mushroom itself. I was holding the shroom, stamped my hand for like 14 hours, and it was like
That
I love
sounds
you.
odd, but at the same time, according to Terrence McKenna and me tripping on shrooms myself, there is a communication that happens with the mushroom. And I guess, I mean, him and both Terrence McKenna and I believe it was Rupert Sheldrake. Is it Rupert Sheldrake or Graham Hancock? Was talking about, I think it's Rupert Sheldrake that has the morphic field theory, that whenever you take, and of course he and Terrence was talking about it in the trilogue conversations that they had. And one of the things that they talked about was how that when the mushroom communicates with us, what we are doing is we're tapping into that morphic field and becoming one with that mushroom, with that
Yeah.
mushroom's essence. And because of that, and releasing our own, I guess you could say, humanity for a brief time, we become one with the mushroom and are able to experience its morphic memory.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
My,
and
you know,
that might be what he was talking about.
my biggest question though is, why is that possible? You know, so why is it that
Because
our
we're
brains
all one being expressing itself differently.
well, and it's the the fact that we have more common with mushrooms than we have with anything else. You know, like physically, and it's crazy to think about that. Like the whole universe is in and of itself a big mandala, and everything is hypnosis. Like existence itself is just a big hypnotic event. And that's why, like, when you're doing like Om, and you got the whole feeling of the universe, you're having this hypnotic event occur to you, and you're feeling enlightened, but you're still not transcending beyond creation. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's something beyond that hypnotic state.
Oh yeah. Well,
Are you talking theta? Because there's also delta too, and I've like those two different ones are depths apart. Like I've only entered theta maybe once or twice, or delta. Sorry.
No, I don't know. I'm just talking about the hypnotic state.
Yeah. Well, there's 4 brainwave like kinds, or 5 or something. I think there's 5 now. But you got alpha, or
at the very top is hypersensitive. Like, whenever you get into the zone playing a video game, or like riding a motorcycle or some shit like that, you're in that zone, and that's a kind of a meditative state within itself. That's gamma. That's what they call it.
That's the new one.
They call that the gamma wave. Now, more of what is in what we call the operating state of normal day-to-day shit, where you're just alert. That's basic being is how I remember it, and it's beta.
Yeah.
That's your beta state. Alpha, that's approaching. I use the A's for approaching alpha. And alpha is whenever you're starting to relax. You're kind of quasi in between, like
waking state and dream state ish.
Yeah, you're in between the relaxation and the meditative and dream state. You're just entering into it, and I'll just call that meditative or relaxation. It's deep relaxation, but not to the point of being completely under. And then theta, that's the twilight, another T to T. So the theta state is in between your alpha and your delta. Okay, and then theta is deep meditation. I mean, it's like really, really, really deep.
That's the meditation state most people.
I mean, I've stayed in the deep. I put myself in a theta state in a deep meditation for about 15 minutes, and somebody knocked on my door, and I thought a bomb went off. Yeah. Okay. Your senses are so heightened because of it, and everything is just like so. You're so aware of everything, but at the same time not, because you're within, unless you have some type of external thing. But then
theta state
to finish up, then you go into delta, which is deep. It's a deep dream state or dreamless state in some cases. But yeah, between theta and delta is whenever you hit REM and start going into between a really deep dream state or REM and just complete dreamless state in deep delta.
Yeah, and in my deep meditations, once my eyes start flickering, that's when I know I'm on my game. Like
Yeah,
if
that's
that
right. Yeah,
happens, my magic's on par.
yeah.
It's already done.
Absolutely.
But Einstein, Nikola Tesla, Edison, all would sleep purposely for 3 hours a night. They would let a ball. Einstein would drop a ball to where he would wake up. If he drops it, that means he was too far in the state. So they
Hmm.
would stay in either alpha state or theta state for longer periods of time. So that's how they say they had their eureka moments.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like right there at the cusp of alpha and theta, I think,
Yep.
based on what I know about those two different
Yeah,
gears.
from what they've said.
It's basically what it is. It's shifting gears, like in your brain. You know, if you want to think of it that way, you can. It's like,
Well, you're focusing more on the subconscious mind, which nobody fucking does these days and
hmm.
age. But like back in the day, that was a practice. That was something all these fucking masters did on a consistent basis. Buddha, Jesus, fucking all of
Yeah, I watched this one video, and it was talking about how they use magnetism uh, in certain temples, like I believe it was the Temple of Athena,
them. That's
and
cool.
you could see how they had they actually went into the temple and showed people these, how these, I won't say they're beds, but that's what they were. They were like slabs that you laid down on intentionally for the purpose of meditating or reaching an altered state. And that they allegedly had these things similar to Baghdad batteries,
Yeah.
and they would use those, um, and they had like these little round spheres around these slabs, and that they would create this, for what I can think of no other way to call it, a magnetic field, that helped them get to that meditative state, and they would use that in the temple. And whether there was any truth to that or not, but some of it does, to me make sense. Huh?
So how do you guys feel about, you know, darker, stuff? Like I've been doing some things that I didn't consider as, dark or whatever. Like I've been studying this one book, and I've been trying to talk about it. It's called Liber Lilith, and it was supposedly channeled by Donald Tyson. He's kind of a wacko, but this book is like, I feel like his masterpiece. I was just out in my living room trying to grab my cigarettes. My dog was laying on it, and my dog is like the sweetest dog in the world, right? But all of a sudden she was laying on it and she was just growling at me, and I tried to grab my book and she started trying to bite me.
Damn.
And I had to fight her for it. And she's literally the sweetest dog ever. So I
Huh.
don't know what the fuck that was about.
Mm.
I think the dark stuff's necessary. If you're all like, I don't know about you guys, but you deal with these children of light who think they're all fucking high and mighty. They're doing all this good and causing way more fucking
I agree.
like
This one Satanist witch, I guess, is what he is, friend of mine, and he was telling me, as far as like talking about this COVID thing. And he's like, well, I'm no love and lighter. He's like, but I wish you well and everything, and I hope everything goes, I wish your safeness, I wish you be for safety and healing. And I was like, oh, thanks. I was like, but it's really just a matter of perception as far as whether or not you think you're love or lighter or not. Because to me, love is like a divine connection. And light, I go by the Golden Dawn's LVX, which is Luke's, which represents, the cycle of birth, rebirth, birth, life, and death, and that cycle. And the whole process of creation and destruction is in the word Luke's, which means light. So if you look
Mhm.
at it that way, love and light is completely, way, way, way more so than what people are understanding in what I call entry level witchcraft and magic,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
spirituality. And there is a
Definitely.
lot of people in the spiritual community, spirituality, they need to start practicing magic. They need to start learning witchcraft so they can figure out what the hell they're doing.
Yeah,
Because
I think most
you're in dangerous waters, basically.
yeah, I think most witches are just correspondent witches. They use a crystal to get the energies they desire, but
At least they know how to do
I
that.
that shit drives me nuts. Like if
I
you
don't
would
like.
sit there and hold that crystal for a fucking day, you can
It will do
create that
whatever you
energy.
want. Well,
Yeah.
except drive a car.
Right. I
But
don't
yeah,
know about
yeah,
all the crystal shit.
it'll charge with whatever your intention is.
Yeah,
And
for
it don't
sure.
matter what it is.
Yeah, that's why they call it charging it, because you're in charge, right?
Right, exactly.
I like that.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, words are special. The words fucking end up lining up to the way it really is.
hmm Yeah, I definitely examine my words a lot. And when people are starting to discuss something or argue, whatever they want to call it, I was like, let's set up the definitions first.
Yeah.
So that way we'll know that what we are talking about is all on the same page, and like, because if you're
Hmm.
talking about one type of thing as far as the definition is concerned, and I'm talking about something else, then we're not ever going to, have any type of connection as far as what we agree on as far as that word goes, and then move on to not only the word but the phrasing and the sentence of what we are attempting to communicate. So I think, yeah, definitions are very important.
For real.
Yeah. I mean, I take the Gnostic view. I have to. Ever since I learned about the Gnostic understanding of everything, it just took over my whole worldview of everything. And
Dude,
it's
I'm
just,
on the same page there. The Gnostic shit, like I study all of it and I see the similarities of all of it, but the Gnostic shit hits home for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that I am Gnostic, by definition, but if there was any of it that I would read that had quasi-religious connotations to it, I would have to say that it would be Gnostic and Eastern philosophies, Hindu and stuff like that,
mm-hmm,
because they have such symbolism behind them. But it's important, not especially with Gnosticism, because it's so close to a current modern uh, religion. Well, so is Hindu for that matter, but Christianity, Paulinity, whatever you want to call it, modern Christianity is not, you know, even close to what it's supposed to be. But because we have this, I don't know, conditioning, I guess you could say it would be, we have a tendency to look at the Gnostic um, system, is what I'll call it, and see it literally. And it's beautiful symbolism, it's not literal.
mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important to keep in mind when studying the Gnostic
Yeah,
path, is that it's not real. It's real, but it's not like literal. It's
right.
symbolic.
Well, I've had this realization that the Gnostic creation. You ever notice how creation myths seem to be like the first type of scripture, and like I was telling um Ryan the other day that I feel like the Gnostic view or the Gnostic creation myth is meant to be how the practitioner is the original uh monad or whatever, and we're supposed to do what that original monad did in order to have influence over our life and surroundings and stuff like that. So it's like the essential human is actually that original monad. The creation myth is meant to be like as a practical manual for a mystical path.
Right.
I kind of have on the same page there.
And that kind of goes back to expounding on that, the concept of the first man is the Adam Kadmon, and what that represents in the Kabbalah, because they do coincide. Because I've
Mhm.
noticed that with Gnosticism, they use the Kabbalah quite a bit. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's
Well, it
and
starts off with Adam Harishan, and then it goes down to the creation of the man, which is Adam Kadmon,
yeah. So there's actually more to it. Like I said, I haven't really studied a whole lot of the Gnostic, but I do know a little bit about it, and to the point of it, I enjoy the symbolism behind it. But me, I prefer just being a high witch, whether I'm stoned or not. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's well, I'm eclectic, so but I do like that. I'm gonna have to check into that. And then you said it's admin. What was the word you said? Admin It sounded like you said admin creation, but
Oh, Adam Harish. It's Harishan. So
Harishan. Okay.
yeah, it'd be like hey, and then like a dash, and then Resh, Yod, Shin, Vav,
Nun.
Noon.
Okay. Harishan.
Yeah.
All right.
Harishan. Yeah. And
So
that would
remind me,
be the
go ahead.
essential human, the essential human uh energy that happened, right after you know, well, it'd be the first event would be that, you know. And then through that everything else was created, and then it came down to after everything else was created, then the Adam Kadmon happened.
Hmm. Cool.
Yeah. It's very cool, through us everything was created and then we became
Right.
physical, right?
Well, see, and that's my opinion to this whole thing. Like, the one thing I disagree with Gnosticism is like, I don't think this is a mistake. I don't think all of creation is a mistake. I think I think God created like the divine, like his first, and fucking wanted more. Like it wasn't equal. And fucking that's kind of, I hate saying that because that is my goddess, but anyway, fucking I don't
Well,
think that was a mistake. I think that was to build more equals because I think it takes the experience of this reality to get you to your higher self. But I don't know. I
Well,
could be all
it's
fucking wrong.
it's just the whole concept that the essential man through which everything was created wanted to experience itself, you
Yeah.
know.
hmm
It's,
I can see that. Or just, we really can't. We really cannot put motive or nature upon the creator, source, or what have you. It's just like it says in Hermetics. It's like the masters have talked about it in the past as far as like trying to assign a nature to creation or a reason. It would be like a squirrel running around its wheel in a cage, and then by the time it gets finished running and running and running and going around and around and around, you're still back, or you're still, at the same place you started, not really going anywhere. And I kind of like have to add to that, is it necessary to know? I mean, why is it important for us to know the nature of creation? And even if there is a nature to creation, and we're part of that creation, or since we're part of that creation, why not just make it whatever the fuck we want?
Right.
you know, and just take it to that next level. It's like, oh, yeah, as a matter of fact, we are God.
right.
So
And
let us
for
just
me,
make creation however we feel. And about the only thing I can think of, just to wrap it up as far as what I'm
right.
saying, is one thing that I can see that is, based on as above, so below, is at least try to fucking make it better.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's what you're progressively doing. I mean, we've all had that experience. I was a fucking total piece of shit like a week ago.
Oh, I've been a total ass for, I mean, like way back in the day. And then sometimes I still am. You know, I'm no saint.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. You know, but I do what I can to try to make this my creation or our creation the greatest version it can be possible.
Mhm.
And if anything, that's one thing that I can say is, at least we got that. You know?
Right?
Outside of that, I have no morals. So thankfully for that, you know, you are all safe.
Thank you, Jesus. That's why I go back to, for me, like, that's why I go back to religion, because I feel like there has to be a reason. And, and I feel like there are answers to that, but we have to go through, what's been given to us through messengers and people who know the answer to that.
So
Like,
I don't know if I
But
ever
is it
told
in
you
most of
mine.
them's answer or message love? Isn't most of their message like divine connection,
Yeah.
to rise above the material plane and to know that there's more to it than that? And that is, in a sense, you know, that's
yeah, yep,
evolving our existence. That's what they're talking about.
yeah,
They're talking about
yep.
evolving our existence. Other than that, I can't really say.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't even know what the fuck I'll say to that. That's,
We figured it all out. We got this shit.
damn. Drop the mic.
Now, fucking. So, in my experience, like you were talking, um, so yeah, that's where I was at. Like, this was March 3rd, 2012. I sat there and I watched the movie Stigmata. This is the first time I was ever introduced to not like Gnostic beliefs. That movie it's great, but it's fucking wrong. Like, that is not how that fucking happened.
I
But
have
anyway,
not seen that, but
oh, it's good, but it's like, they 90s it. It was a 90s movie, so they made it like some party girl fucking has stigmata and finds the Gnostic documents. When it was the 1940s, three priests found the Gnostic texts of like Joshua, and they tried to hide it from the public because the kingdom of God is inside you and all around you, not in buildings built of brick and stone. So the Catholic Church shit themselves. So fucking the way they did it back then was, they probably do it now. It's probably more so now, but they would take three priests, give you fragments, and fucking you would translate it, but you wouldn't get the whole document. That because that's what churches should fucking do.
Yeah. Just spoon feed you what they want you to know.
Yeah.
right.
So anyway, like, these three priests were so passionate about it, they found each other, and like, you're being watched by like people while you're doing this shit, while you're translating and shit, so you don't do that. So they went so far as to like fight the whole church and release the Gospel of Thomas and the Nag Hammadi. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so fucking so I watched this movie, and like, I'm like, well, if the fucking church is hiding these documents, there's only one way to get to the answers. So I'll fucking do it myself. So I sit, and then I practice like chakras, I practice Kundalini, and I sit for 4 fucking hours. I'm like, if there's a God, and my wording's what fucking was awesome. I said, I don't trust angels, because I was Christian as fuck. I'm like, the devil was an angel, fucking blah, 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 fucking. So anyway, I want to talk to the first. So anyway, after I sit in these meditations and nothing fucking happens, I gave up, like, on life. I probably would have killed myself that night. But fucking, so anyway, I lay down and I hear 4 words whispered in my, I want to say my left ear. And it was, "Are you stuck, Ryan?" In that 4 words, I have never been loved so much in my life. And it fucking totally changed me. Like, I was a druggie. I was fucking, I wasn't horrible, but like, I cared about money more than everything. I cared about all this bullshit. And 180. So that's kind of
Nice.
where I started out. And I
Wow.
see that as like what you were saying with Lilith, or Isis, or fucking Kali, or Whispering Wind.
Right.
There's so many fucking names. Hecate, fucking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
And they all have the same aspects.
the I just want to say about the whispering, how they said in the Islamic view of jinn is that they're the whisperers, they whisper, they're the ones who whisper, try to influence people, and so on and so forth. But if you look in all of the grimoires and everything, the Book of the Law, the Key of Solomon, and all this shit was all this whispering voices that are saying, I'm gonna unlock all the secrets of nature, and then it happened.
Yep.
I don't know.
So, out of all this reality, I believe in that voice. I've heard it 4 times. I can't remember the other shit she said, but like that was the most profane. All the other shit
this
is like,
happened.
Ryan, stop being a piece of shit.
I mean, this happened to me. I was, I was sleeping and I heard a voice and female voice, and she's telling me she wants me to wake her up and so on and so forth. And she still keeps, telling me this shit. And I sat there probably for like 2 days, like, what the fuck just happened to me?
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what it meant. And, eventually I came to this conclusion where I have now, like I just searched and searched and searched. And and I came in contact with Babylon and Vajrayogini, Isis and Lilith and this and that. And just, I wanted to stick with the Abrahamic concept. So I went back to Lilith because she was the one who had actually, in the Gnostic creation myth, in the Gnostic gospel of Lilith, that she had created Adam with her hands out of the dirt. And she convinced Samael, who's actually Jehovah, who is the evil god, to breathe life into the clay. And she said, "Behold the form of Adam," and I was like, "What?" And
Well, in
there
the
it is right
Gnostic
there.
beliefs, Jehovah or Samuel couldn't get man to live. So he turns to his mother, which is, what you're calling Lilith, and asks, how do I get this to work? And she says, breathe into it. And it's kind of a scam in the Gnosticism, because like it's taking a part of him to put it into there. It's like trying to fix the system. But anyway, in Hebrew, Egyptian, Greek, pretty much anything you can think of, Native American tongue, spirit all means breath, spirit, and wind.
Yep.
Well, I found the secret of what she was talking about, and I didn't, because I just thought it was like a dream or like a weird thing that happened. I just kept dreaming it even though I woke up. But then I looked and I found this concept of Vajrayogini in this book that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And it talks about how the main concept is this self-generation, generating yourself as Vajrayogini, as the divine feminine.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're waking her up by generating yourself as her.
Yeah. Well, look at it as like Kundalini. Kundalini is a female serpent. It is the divine feminine.
Oh, is it really? I didn't know. I thought it was male.
No. It might be more both.
I think there's the Ida and the Pingala, and one of them is masculine, the other one's feminine. But,
so you got
quote
each
me on
serpent.
that.
That's what the dual serpents are.
Like the caduceus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
And of course, that meanders back and forth between the pillar of severity and pillar of mercy, which, that goes again with the masculine and feminine, Jatan and Boaz.
But even if you look at the Kundalini as like Kabbalah, it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. It's a different system of power centers.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the energy
feminine,
systems are kind of different in all the systems. I want to hear about that heart shit you were talking about the other day. The 4 chakras in your heart, because that's kind of how I feel I talk to that spirit. Plus just side note, now you know how you were saying you were in like dream state. See, that would have been theta or delta or in between. That's why you heard, and it's a bitch to get to.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, the thing with that is like the heart concept is where, like, because in the Kabbalah, in Kabbalist, in practical Kabbalah, there's a, inside of your heart, there's all these coins like shekels, and but they're all like nations of Israel, right? But all of these nations are rogue nations, but there's only one of those nations which is true, and you have to come into control over that true part of the heart in order to use that to take control of the other rogue, parts of the heart. And even in muraqaba meditation, which, because I'm really into like the Arabic stuff, in muraqaba meditation, which is a Sufi meditation, where you have 5 points in the heart, but one of those points is a black. They all have different colors, and one of them is black, and the other ones are bright colors. But you have to utilize the black part, so you have to come into control of the black latif to come into control of the other 4 latif. And so it goes back to the Kabbalah and the influences of Kabbalah on gnosis, which is called irfan. And they actually use the word gnosis. If you read the books in English, when they translate to English, they say gnosis, but it means in Arabic irfan. So anyways,
What's your font name?
Irfan means gnosis.
Okay, so it's now in my like understanding, gnosis is more like divine understanding, but it's like also a form of meditation.
Well, Irfan and gnosis is knowledge, right? It's divine knowledge. But beyond that, right? Beyond that is divine wisdom. So because in Kabbalah, and I don't know, you guys might know about this, but in Kabbalah, the whole concept of Kabbalah is you have everything that you need, but you want more. So you have everything physically, and then you want more, and then you seek knowledge, and then you find everything knowledge, but then you want more. So then you seek wisdom. So that's how we know that wisdom is beyond everything else.
Yeah.
And that's how you find the need for Kabbalah.
That makes sense.
Well, if you follow the path of the flaming sword, that's what comes first is wisdom and then understanding. You start with the first swirlings, the Ein Sof, Ein Sofar, Keter, and then Chokhmah, and then Bina. And Chokhmah is wisdom, and Bina is understanding.
Right.
So you experience wisdom before going down the path of the flaming sword before you experience knowledge.
Well, actually,
but if you're going the other direction, the path of the other direction.
He's saying descending. The lightning path or whatever.
Oh yeah, the path of the lightning bolt is descending, starting from Keter and going down. But if you go the other direction, like y'all was talking about, and it actually is the path of the serpent in Kabbalah as well.
Yeah.
Then it's going upward. So the first thing you experience is knowledge, and then wisdom. So that exactly is what it is reflecting as far as what you were just saying. That's how it is on the Tree of Life.
And it's funny because that same concept is totally Kabbalah or Kundalini. And it's totally fucking, it's in Buddhism, it's in all these
The
different
serpent.
philosophies. And it's always a serpent, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
We
just
got
like with Isis. She used the serpent to gain Ra's name
Oh, yeah.
yes.
to become
You know, and
the.
it's also the knowledge or that the gnosis is just a tool to gain to the wisdom. So the gnosis is not the end goal. It's like right? Samadhi is just a tool, right? It's a tool of exploration. Am I right about that? So the gnosis too is a tool of exploration to get to the wisdom. So like even once you reach that level of all this knowledge coming into your brain, it doesn't even matter because that's not the end. There's even more, you know.
Well, from what I understand as gnosis, the best way that I can describe gnosis, or the way that I define it, I guess you could say, is there was this book that I read. Well, it was a whole series, but when in one of the books in that volume of series, the Philosophical Harmonic series, uh, is called The Great Work, and in it, it's got the classification of data. Well, in that classification of data, the best thing that I can really describe as gnosis is what they refer to as personal knowledge. Personal knowledge being not assumed knowledge. I mean, yeah, we can say, that something might be going on, let's just say COVID, just for example. Even though I don't want to say this or that about it as far as positive or negative, but just as an example, we see it on the news, okay? We hear about it. But how many of us have actually experienced something of a nature that we could define without a shadow of a doubt and say that it's real?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like
Words.
how many people can look at a flame and say that it's hot, okay, if they've never touched it. So they have to experience that. They have to have that personal experience. And in that personal experience is true knowledge, gnosis.
Right.
And in that
Well,
experience also, that takes you to wisdom. And in experience is wisdom, and remembering that experience, it goes beyond knowledge and into a full, like, in-depth
yeah.
understanding, a wisdom. It's wisdom of it's a knowledge of an exalted nature.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's why it says on the, classic example where it says Nothi Sotan on the in the temple, in Greece or whatever, the temple of Diana, I think, or no, I don't remember which temple it was. But it says Nothi Sotan. It says know thyself, right? But
Yeah,
even if you
Delphi.
just know yourself, knowing yourself is like that can go beyond because, like we said, the that everything was created through the human essence, that the pre-existent human essence. So even if you know yourself, that's like cosmic knowledge,
Right.
so it's even if you just say personal knowledge can go beyond everything in existence.
I like Lon Milo Duquette, he's one of the higher stations of the OTO. Um, I think the best way that he says it is, it's all in your head. You just have no idea how big your head actually is.
Right.
Or it's all in your
Yeah,
mind. You just have no idea how big your mind actually is. It's
yeah,
the same
that's fun.
concept that in Delphi, know thyself. But once you know thyself, then you have apprehended God
Mm-hmm.
by the definition of like in the Corpus Hermeticum and the Asclepius.
Yeah.
It says who are you to apprehend God if you won't see yourself at the highest heights, at the lowest depths, as existing as birth and death and that recycling nature of existence, and
Right.
seeing everything yourself all as everything and nothing at the same time. Who are you to apprehend God if you're not willing to try to understand what it's like to be God? So Well, that's what the Asclepius talks about, and I think it's something that everybody really should read if it's in the spiritual practice or magic, witchcraft, whatever. Is the Corpus Hermeticum, especially because of its Gnostic nature, and it's so beautifully written as far as the symbolism is concerned, and
Well,
what it
Thoth
says.
alone is fucking so fucking Gnostic. You know, he believes in archons. He believes in, you know, these weird Gnostic concepts.
Who's that?
Thoth?
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, well, it's the. I think the I don't know for sure, but it seems to me like the Gnostics took
Yeah.
or adopted, or maybe they just practiced a lot of Hermetics.
Yeah.
And it was just intrinsically woven into their practice. It's like I've got a link for the Kabbalion, which has the basic Hermetic principles, just in an introduction to it. It's a really good book. But the link that I have is from a Gnostic website.
Yeah. Well, that's a great thing about Gnosticism. Every document from Gnostic shit is online for free.
Well, can I just say something that I feel like there's one Gnostic tradition that is still alive today that people are kind of ignoring, and that is in the Shia or in the Shiite tradition of Islam, and their stuff is phenomenal. There's this one book called Light Within Me, and it's a Gnostic text written by some Ayatollah Tabatabai, I think. And oh my God, it just blows your mind. He comes up with this idea that, the reason for monotheism isn't because people are trying to control what you believe in, all this other shit, is because to realize oneness. Because you unite with the object of your meditation, right? So if you try uniting 100 different gods at once, you're never gonna achieve oneness.
Yeah, like that.
And that's
I
with
seen a
every.
thing the other day where I went and did a ritual with my friends, and fucking few of them are Nordic path. Fucking, they can't remember what that's called, but whatever. But they had their version of like the tree of life. Like they had. I'll send you guys the link in chat later, but it is fucking good. Like, same concepts you were just talking, where you got wisdom, then you got fucking knowledge, talking downwards. But different names, different understandings, and it sounded exactly like the Kabbalah. I want to go back and watch it again and try and create a Kabbalah tree of life out of
it. It seems to me that based on all the different systems that I've studied, and probably some of them I haven't, one thing that I feel they all have in common, or maybe it's not just that they have in common, but I'm going to go back to this kind of a quasi pseudoscience concept. But I mean, if that's not magic, what is it? Is that morphic field. And if that morphic field, you was talking about as far as mushrooms are concerned, why would humanity not have our own? And in that morphic field, we all have that feeling, that collective unconscious of all of these concepts that we try to make tangible in a way that we can communicate them to each other at that given time with the knowledge that we have. And it doesn't matter whether or not you're talking, just like you were saying, Ryan, with the Asatru, the Nordic traditions.
Yeah.
We all have all the different religions, the Islam. Maybe a lot of people are not real crazy about Islam, but there is some epic stuff in Islam.
He's got me all into, what is that called? Shiri or?
There's Sunni, Shiite, and Sufi. And the Sufi are really awesome too.
I think it's Sufi, yeah.
The ones that do the spinning dirges and does that dance, and they get
Actually,
they I've watched a video about that just recently, and I swear it's a lot like voodoo.
That's cool.
yeah.
It really is, because they get into this ecstatic state of dance, and they just keep dancing and dancing and dancing for hours and hours and hours, and then they reach the
If you look at real voodoo,
divine
it is
state.
so Christian based. Most voodoo. Like,
there's Santeria, and it's got a lot of it's a voodoo mixed with Christianity, but
yeah.
But I mean, just if you think about it, all of the different gods of all the different pantheons, they all seem to follow like certain necessities for that particular group, whether it be agriculture, childbirth, fertility, war.
Yeah, you take the Legba and you add them up to angels, or you add them up to Greek gods. There are corresponding deities,
right? Yeah,
for same goals. Yeah.
Yeah, which to me, and that could be in that morphic field, our archetypes, of how we are explaining something we know exists within ourselves, but that's the best way we can put it at that time.
Exactly.
I mean, I have to say that definitely like my religion is Shiaism. It's like the Shia Islam, or what you can call Ithna Ashari, the Shiite religion. Mm-hmm. So, definitely I can say from what I know that there's absolute, metaphysics and alchemy and magic and all this other stuff definitely inside of it. In fact, there's a school called Hausa in Iraq, in Najaf, where it's almost like Hogwarts school.
Oh, wow.
People learning about Kabbalistic stuff and mysticism and things like that, just like 24/7. Like, they only sleep a few hours a day. They wake up, drink a whole bunch of coffee, and sit around and talk about, stuff like this, like all day long.
Wow, that's cool.
I was telling you about my homie. Actually, he was really Iraqi guard, and he's real into that stuff. But I guess his mom was like, a mystic. She actually, did magic and shit. Because, everybody around me thinks I'm fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, Joseph, I guess you've heard of the Picatrix, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
The guy at the game.
Okay, yeah, to me, that's where a lot of, even the word mage came from, was the Zoroastrian, magos, and that's all Persian. So there absolutely is definitely a lot of magic in that area. If that's where the whole, that's where the word magos come from, you'd have to think in Zoroastrianism, and following what that actually is and learning more about it. I don't want to really get into it, but it's according to the story of the three wise men, that's what they were. They were Zoroastrian magi. Whether the story was real or not, that's allegedly what this master that they taught, that had astrological.
That's one of the major ones, I believe, just because it's kind of random. Like, they even go up to Jesus and say, "Hey, you're not our Messiah, but you're a Messiah."
Right, you're a messenger.
That goes along with the Hanafiya, because in pre-Islamic Arabia, and Persia and so on and so forth, they had this group called Hanafiya, and I believe that they were the Magi, where they actually believed that Jesus was the Messiah, and they were a Gnostic group. That's why, and I think they were kind of like, they followed the stars, like Zoroastrians.
You look at March 4th. I think it's 4. I think that's BC, right? There is an astrology sign of the Star of David in the sky. Like, astrology-wise, it does the Star of David. So they
Sure.
say they were chasing that. So that's pretty big deal. But I think it's fourth. I'll have to relook it up. But
If I was to speculate, not just based on the Bible, but based on like some of the songs that goes along with it, like Little Talk with Jesus, it talks about prayer wheels. You know, obviously that's Buddhism, but and there's this one song it talks about. It says a star with a tail as big as a kite. Well, what kind of stars have tails? You know, and what kind of stars can you follow that has a tail? Well, it's a comet.
Comet. Yeah.
You know, and it seems to me like the most likely example or a possibility or whatever word I'm using, I'm thinking of. Y'all know, kind of pull a Biden moment there. Oh, you know
molested
the
girls
things.
there.
But at any rate, yeah, that concept seems to me to be a comet.
Yeah.
That's what they can follow in the sky.
But another thing about what we're just talking before we get off the subject is I think there's a deeper meaning to what they were saying with the whole you're not our Messiah, but you're a Messiah. I think it's like that what we originally started with, you know, there's divineness inside everybody. There, you know, everybody's equal. They're just saying, you know, hey, fucking we're going to show you some shit or, you know,
right.
something
Yeah,
like
you're
that.
not necessarily of our path, but you are a Messiah and we are going to train you.
Yep. Basically, yeah. That's why I keep you on this shit, fucking, because you fix all my bullshit.
One thing it's like in the Shiite tradition, they believe that Hermes Trismegistus is one of the prophets.
Yeah.
That they also they have these 12 imams, and which correspond to the 12 ancient Egyptians or classical gods of the ancient Egyptians. And they actually have the same exact, like if you learn about the history of their lives and stuff, and it's like parallels the ancient Egyptian classical mythology of Greco-Egyptian classical Greco-Egyptian mythology, which is kind of crazy. And that's why, because it's Persian, you know, and the Persian, like the Zoroastrian stuff and the ancient Egyptian stuff, I believe has been absorbed into the Shia stuff and the Hermetic stuff, you know, like the Greco-Egyptian Hermetic stuff, along with Zoroastrian. And that's crazy. That's why I stick with it, like, because it's so fucking fascinating. Like, they're like warriors, and they're, you know, how ancient Egyptians were warriors. And people are like, how Christians are like, well, religion can't have fighting, you know, because Jesus said, just turn the cheek. Well, how can a thing guide all of mankind? Because all of mankind has fucking war. So you gotta have some kind of rules for that, you know, or, you know, something. If you just leave it up to Jesus, everybody be dead, you know.
Well, even Jesus says, like, you think I came here to cause peace in the world? I did not. I came here to cause chaos and war, and I'm here to protect it until that happens. It's something like that. That's very paraphrased and shitty.
He said, I did not bring peace, but a sword.
Yeah, I did not bring peace, but a sword. And he did. The thing about it is it's like the sword that is used in Ephesians, that says the sword which is the word of God. And if you look at the sword, and constantly in the Bible, the sword is the word of God. It's Yod He Vav He. It's the tree of life. It's the power of magic. It's using.
But it's a fight. It's the same thing of jihad, and it's tikkun, like in Kabbalah, tikkun. It's like the inner fight.
Yeah, the inner fight. Yep.
That makes sense.
One thing Muhammad said was that the greatest jihad is not to fight other people, but it's a war within yourself to fight against what's the nafs, to fight against the dirty parts of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's even Buddhism right there. You know, fucking Buddhism says that shit.
That's just about any religion, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
that they're trying to, and well, if you want to get around down to that, even spirituality, a lot of them try to, and of course, even if you want to go with me being a gray witch, I can say for a certainty that the left-hand path and the right-hand path are both beneficial in becoming authentic and getting to know who we are in a complete sense, to the point of really coming to a state of unconditional love
Yep.
for at least us. To the
And that
point where
goes
you're like,
back to what we
I'm an asshole, but I still love me, or I'm a bitch and I still love me.
And see, I
And
think that comes back to what you guys were saying earlier about the fucking knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom is knowing it's okay to be a piece of shit, Seeing that in your brother going, oh, okay, he's doing this because he's on this part of this path trying to understand this.
mm-hmm.
That's where knowledge is beat, by wisdom.
That sounds like an enlightened Taoist. He's just like, wisdom is knowing I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah. I call it the book of fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, what's the sound of one hand clapping? Me masturbating.
Right?
That's enlightenment right there.
Fuck
That's
yeah.
That's outside of the box right there.
Probably an enlightenment.
Yep. Don't get me started on that fucking fool. No, the Book of Law fucking Nui. That's that voice I fucking heard. You can fucking tell. The rest of that book I'm not too into, but the first chapter of that book is amazing with the divine feminine.
I find it to be all true, personally.
All of it? Well,
Yeah.
I think there is a different understanding from the first chapter and the two after.
Mm-hmm. Different levels of esoteric understanding.
Yeah.
Can't take it literally.
Yep.
Yeah, we can't take it literally. But yeah, he used it for shock value. And
yeah,
he was good. He was a good poet, so he knew how to get people's attention. And
especially back then.
And that was the way that he did it. He basically just created this whole system that was designed to shock people. It's like,
all it is word porn.
It's word porn. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's word porn. Yep. I watched this one video, The Keepers of the Word, and they had Duquette on there, and he started discussing Crowley, and he's like, yeah, he was joking through about most of it. He wasn't joking, but he was kind of a tongue-in-cheek type of thing that, he just feeding into the stupidity of the people who had no clue what he was talking about.
Right. Well, it's like if you're too much of a dick or too much, too sensitive, then you're not going to want to learn about it. And I think it's because you need to be a little bit, detached from your own feelings and so on and so forth in order to desire more wisdom anyways. So,
yeah, and that keeps you from that divine perspective.
One other thing that during that time period, it's not like it is now.
No.
They were still trying to break free from these concepts that had been basically pounded into their heads.
Yeah.
So what Crowley was doing was he was creating a system that was completely outside of that mindset, and even to the point of being an antithesis of it, to move the opposite direction, but not necessarily in the direction of the Christianity hell.
Yeah, exactly.
So he wasn't like a rebellious Christian. He's like, let's just take it here, and it's like, let's just see how far I can push the envelope as far as getting away from what you were raised.
Yeah, exactly.
In doing that, what you do is you break those chains of that conditioning through moving away from that. It's like whenever you do the satanic unbaptism, what you're doing is you're undoing a process, or saying the Lord's Prayer backwards. It doesn't do anything, but psychologically it's causing a an effect to where you're moving away from what you've been conditioned.
Well, it's
And
just
that's
like
all it is.
all
That's
great
what most of
rituals
that is.
end up being. It's a rebirth.
Yeah, it's a rebirth. You're becoming a different person. You know, it's kind of, you were born again. Nope, you got born again one more time.
Yeah. See, and that's my
In your
objective
own
of
self.
every ritual I do is every ritual I am getting rid of the old that
Mm-hmm.
I don't need and bringing in new.
Yep.
You know, that's what true sacrifice is.
Yeah, it's that kind of like that birth, life, decay, death cycle. You know, and it's
Mhm.
not only happens in existence, but it happens throughout our lives, in our
Yeah.
personas, uh,
Mhm.
in our psyche, and everything. As far as that goes, we all transmute,
Yep.
and it's up to us whether or not we are the affectors, or the ones affected
Yep.
in that transmutation, or we are the ones causing it.
Yep.
Whenever we are causing our own transmutation, mental transmutation, then what we are doing is we are creating ourselves in so doing. But if we allow others to define us, then we are basically letting them transmute us into what they want us to do, which is
100%.
not what a master does. A master is the cause
Yep.
of our lives, not the ones being affected by it,
100%.
by others' causes.
Yeah. Well, I like what Brian says about, how that's what sacrifice is, how sacrifice is the highest concept. There's a person who was, and I hate, I keep going back to this, but got me thinking about this sacrifice thing. How it reminds me of, there's a guy, he's called Imam Hussein. He's the grandson of Muhammad, and he was a mystic, and as well as a warrior. But he actually fought. They were trying to kill him, and they were trying to get him to give his allegiance to people who he considered was representative of dark powers on Earth. People who wanted to destroy mankind. And he refused. And there was like 10,000 people against him, and he just fought until they killed him. But he was like, you know, doing that sacrifice to
Mm-hmm.
show others that being true to your mystical self, or
Right.
to your higher self, is a lot more important than physical gain.
Well, it's
Yeah, and
not
see,
just to
that's the
yourself.
issue I have with most magicians. Is that's all they fucking want. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do a money spell. I haven't done a fucking money spell in fucking year.
I don't do any mundane stuff hardly anymore when it comes to spells. I
I
guess I could, but I don't.
I
But
probably should, but
well,
I
like
don't.
for one example that I can think of, being transgender fluid, is I went up to Walmart. I had on eyeliner and earrings and shit like that. So, and as far as this authenticity concept is concerned, that sacrifice that we make, it's like having to deal with fuckers that don't understand,
yep,
uh, or even care to look at you funny and disdain you, look at you like they're gonna beat your ass. Like, yeah, right. You have any idea how many fucking years of martial arts I've had?
right?
But at any rate, there is that sacrifice that you um, put forth with yourself,
Hmm.
as far as going out in public and being yourself in the face of adversity, but other people who will value that, like the kid, for example, saw me and he just cocked his hip to the side and looked at me and smiled, and I was like, yeah, I just let him know it's okay to express that feminine nature.
Yeah,
I told him, like, basically just by my living my life as an example, even though it's a sacrifice in some cases, it's worth it,
yeah.
to express our authenticity to the whole, so it's like a mustard seed being planted, and boom, it goes from
Hmm.
there. So yeah.
Well, you have to draw
So
a
back
line.
onto the cause and effect. I had this was one of my favorite fucking experiences of my life. I was at Walmart, standing in fucking line, and this cashier just talks mad shit to the person in front of me. Like some, two nice ladies, but like fucking the cashier was just mean as fuck. Just like,
Right.
oh, you took 10 seconds to put this thing up on the counter. So usually I'm the kind of guy that fights those situations. I stand up
Right.
for people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
this one I was
agree.
like, I was in my enlightenment phase and fucking really on my game. Instead of going, oh, I'm gonna go be a dick to this lady, make her life a living hell. I did the total polar opposite. I go up to her and I'm like, hey, are you okay? And this chick just starts crying and like, oh, my son got fucking thrown out of school, and tells me her life story. And and you could tell it changed her whole day.
Yeah.
Fucking it reversed that. I was the cause of that person having a better day because just that small step of giving a shit about somebody changed that whole person's perspective. And you do it all the time. That's how I can tell when I'm on fire, like religiously, spiritually, is like I'll go into a gas station or something. You just change people's days by a stupid joke.
Yeah, yeah. Or just asking them how their day is. Or, just like say, how you doing today, man? You guys are looking busy. And like make eye contact and be like, hey, yeah, guess what? I'm here and so are you,
Yeah.
and I recognize your presence.
And you do small steps like that every day or just once a fucking month. You will change the world more than.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I mean, I'm a tattoo artist by profession, and one time I had this walk-in, and this chick came in with her friend, and her friend was like a dude, and he had like eyeliner and he had like pearls on and stuff, but he was clearly not trying to be like a female, but just sort of trying to be a feminine male. And at first I was kind of like, oh, this person looks weird, I don't know what to think about this person. And then he actually became like my favorite person that I've seen in a long time. We started talking about Marcus Aurelius, and he was reading this book from ancient Greece while I was tattooing on him and stuff. We were talking about that stuff, and and I found that a lot of these people seem to be like more deep than normal people, or like what can be considered normal. I'm definitely not normal.
Yeah.
I mean, when
I was normal for about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That was the worst 2 minutes of my life.
I don't think I was ever normal. Like I put on, I was really big fan of like Marilyn Manson and stuff when I was like a teenager, and I wore makeup and things, and people look at me like I'm fucking nuts, and I just be like, "Fuck you," Even if they just look at me funny, I tell them "fuck off."
Yeah, I've noticed that more often than not in the trans community, LGBTQ. Not always. I mean, there's always dicks and bitches everywhere, but for the most part, people who are take it to that level as far as authenticity, they are educated. They do have some knowledge of self on some level, and of course, more often than not, are not Christian.
Yeah.
Because they aren't fucking liked by their own goddamn religion.
Well, Christianity has beat that concept of all this shit being wrong. That's not. I meant sex is fucking wrong in most Christianity. So like, that's nature. That's the biggest problem with fucking humanity is we fight fucking the fuck out of nature.
Yeah. I mentioned something. Was you going to say something, Joseph? I heard you say something just a few seconds ago.
I can't remember.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I was talking to somebody earlier about the beast within us, as far as that maybe it was right here on this recording, as far as allowing. No, I think I wrote it out. That's right. I wrote it out on the chat that we were on before this, but it was talking about how that divine feminine, it's the divine feminine. People have this mistaking idea that it's, pure princess stuff, and it's not. The divine feminine has divine masculine as well. There's a balance there. So just like the divine masculine has the divine feminine.
Well, if you look at like Isis,
not only are you receptive, but you're also able to take that and accept and receive that energy directly from source, and through the divine masculine, that raw energy, that raw ability to just express yourself in a bestial, animalistic manner, if you feel like it. Who's going to really say anything to a panther that walks across the front lawn? Not many people. They'll be like, "Oh shit, that's a big cat," right?
You look at like Isis.
So that's
and
the
Isis has her
this
light
divine
side,
masculine.
and she has the dark side. Like
there's
once
the progressive
Osiris
nature
gets
there.
killed,
Go
she
ahead.
goes ape shit. She is a bad bitch.
Who's that?
Isis.
Oh God, yeah, she's my goddess.
Oh yeah,
I'm
Isis
like the high
is very
priestess
close to
of
my
hers.
heart.
That's a whole different story. Y'all was talking earlier about hearing voices. Yeah, I had that. I mean, that's on that last video that we made. But yeah, basically, I had a drawing down the moon ceremony, and she took over.
Yeah.
So on this, I have an insight about this. What I discovered, is that there was actually so if you compare the two traditions between the Tibetan tradition and the ancient Egyptian tradition, that Heruka was Vajrayogini's consort. So, but they didn't believe that there was any difference between Heruka, the essential nature of Vajrayogini, essential nature of Heruka. So what I'm saying is that I looked into it, and I think it makes a lot of sense that there would be no difference between the essential nature of Osiris and the essential nature of Isis. That's what you're talking about. There's a masculine inside of the divine feminine, and a divine feminine inside the masculine. So there'd actually be no difference between the two. But if you look at that and you use it in a mystical context, that whether you're a male or female doesn't even matter, because once you become one with your own essential nature, then you become actually the divine feminine itself.
Right. Yeah.
Which you're talking about the primal
me,
self.
I use the divine masculine, divine feminine definitions, but as far as a hermeticist goes, but I really look at the all as the divine goddess, but that's just on my own. That's how I relate to it. But I look at the goddess as being a very balanced being. Having that divine feminine, includes divine masculine. And I would love to be able to do the divine masculine, and I guess I can to a degree using the divine feminine, but it's such a conditioned aspect in this day and time that the masculine has a certain quality. And for the most part, the divine feminine is looked at more as nurturing, receptive, caring.
So,
the mother
speaking
quality,
of that, do you think society right now is definitely masculine?
It's moving more toward feminine.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more witches today than there was last year.
They say the spiritual industry this year. I mean, this is before fucking this virus shit, but $2.6 billion.
Wow, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Of course,
Me
they're selling a bunch of worthless cards and stuff like that. I don't necessarily support collecting 800 decks of cards or 100 decks of cards.
I have 22 decks.
Like I said,
And
I
dude,
don't
I
support
bet
that. I guess if you
one
want
of
to
those
collect,
is the full fucking deck at this point.
I guess if you want to collect them, it's kind of like crystals, or if you want to,
Yeah.
or knives, fucking guns, whatever. If you want to collect it, you can collect it. But really, we just use one or two cards. And myself, I've got 3 decks, and I just use one.
I
I use
legit
my one
had
deck,
like
and
three
that's it.
grand worth of fucking spiritual shit. I gave it all away. I put so much power into
Gave
it.
it all away.
It was fucking taken away from me. Yeah, I had like a $200 Ouija board that was sick as fuck.
Right.
Crystal fucking ball, all sorts of cool shit. But
Right.
yeah, but I was putting so much of my power into these things where I couldn't do a fucking spell
Without it.
in the bathroom of fucking Burger King.
Right.
So I eventually got rid of it. I'm starting to re-get shit because just I like it. It's fun.
Right. Well, it's toys. That's what I call them. I call them toys to entertain the younger self. And the younger self, our subconscious, that's where the magic happens.
Exactly.
And as long as we keep our younger self involved in what we're doing, whether it's, and that's the art of the magic, is keeping the younger self involved, drawing, coloring, painting, singing, chanting, dancing, all that theatrical stuff, dressing up, it gets the younger self involved emotionally, energy and motion. And that energy and motion, that goes into that morphic field that I was talking about, and into the collective unconscious. And then that's what causes manifestation throughout existence.
Well, the cool part about what you're saying too,
we have to have that connection.
Nope, sorry.
Oh, I'm done. But yeah, basically, we just have to have that connection with the subconscious. If we're just, if we're not connecting with the subconscious, we're not doing anything but ego masturbation.
Oh, exactly. A cool part about what you were just saying is like that's a great way to program your mind. I mean, that's what all fucking magic is programming your subconscious. My opinion. But fucking great example of what you were doing is you're creating chemicals in your brain that give you pleasure.
Yeah.
So all the the dancing, all that shit, once you start doing that and like planning your suggestions, you're planning pleasure with it, so you naturally seek that out. So it's just a really cool way of doing it. Like, say you love to paint, you do sigils all the time for your fucking magic.
Right. Yeah.
You're getting pleasure out of it. So you're getting,
you're
programming.
Yeah. And I think that's a key part of any magic path, no matter what it is. If you like math, then work with magic squares. I noticed that you was just like checking out magic squares lately, and you like.
Dude, have you seen the one for the fucking sun and the moon?
I saw the one for the moon that you posted something about.
It's fucking ridiculous, dude.
Of course, that's more of an intellectual type of entertainment, but it's still an entertainment. And if you enjoy that type of stuff, then you enjoy it.
Yeah. See, and that's why it worked really well for me. Like, I did a ritual for Saturn and shit with my old coven. And fucking, I showed them all sorts of shit. I hope it fucking worked. I hope it took on at least one of them. Because I made them embody each fucking element, each fucking spirit. Like, instead of just sitting there getting the energies, you are embodying those energies.
Right.
That's the greater fucking rituals and shit.
I want you to sit there and meditate on all the qualities that you can think of the elements that you are representing.
Yeah, but I was going somewhere and I fucking totally forgot.
But you was talking about a ritual.
Oh yeah, so I did this ritual and like it was for Saturn, and I drew out the fucking Saturn sigil, the fucking magical square sigil. And dude, my relationship with Saturn fucking grew like a motherfucker because that's partly my fucking bag. I love math. I mean, that's why I build altars and do fucking carpentry and shit.
I used to hate math, and then I started doing gematria and the kamias and things like that, and I started
being able to do math in my head, and I started to like it. Yeah, I started doing with the Quran, looking up the words, and it's nice. It's a good time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched our other one, but like my whole bag is, I had this moment of like eureka, and I fucking thought of like explaining shit and taking something I understand. I understand computers really well, so fucking you explain all of nature through like a computer system. And it fucking works really well because you can like understand shit because everything's the same concept, kind of. I mean, maybe not everything, but you can use that as like a car. You want to understand magic and you understand cars really well. Cars the same thing as a human fucking body. Cars the same thing as the universe. It takes certain concepts to make shit work.
Or a toilet paper roll.
Yeah. I don't know how the fuck you would do that, but
I started to say I'm not going to quickly agree with that one.
Because it's a conduit, you can blow air through it, like the air of life.
Yeah.
Just like a human being is a conduit for the breath of life.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
or like you could put it under a light bulb and the light shines through. Bam! It's just like a magical robe, right?
Yeah.
I like Nassim Harameyn's thing with the breath. Is he's like he said he had this book, that they were all at this meeting, all these scientists and shit were at this meeting, and there's this like thing in the like 3rd or 4th grade that they show about the expanding universe and how it shows how you blow on a balloon and the galaxies expand outward, right? And it shows an expanding universe through like little dots on a balloon. And then Nassim Harameyn was like, "Who's that guy blowing up the balloon?" He said, "That's what I want to know."
Genius.
And I thought that was pretty epic. And he's like, "No,
Science,
I'm not talking
bitch.
about the concept of God, but the energy, behind the expansion of that universe. If that guy was an energy, what would that energy be? That's what I want to know." So yeah, I really like Nassim Harameyn. He's pretty awesome.
Well, that's just like the idea of a simulated reality. Just like blowing up the balloon is kind of like a simulated reality.
Well, even if you think of it like, no matter what, it kind of is that. Like, it kind of is the fucking Matrix, even if it's, spirituality and there's a fucking God and all this shit. It's just a bunch of test simulations.
The architect, yep.
Even if it's science. If it's straight up chemical fucking reactions. It's
especially if it's science.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought of one time, I guess I was just thinking out loud, or thinking on paper, was like the whole concept of us all being gods. Why would we forget that? Or why would we purposefully allow ourselves to forget that? Is if we all are fighting over the idea of the best way for creation to be, okay? And we're all gods, then there's going to be some disagreements. Okay? And then people are going to be like, create these gods are going to be creating stuff, and these other gods are going to be like, no, I'll step on it. I don't like that one. Well, here goes a planet, and there goes a whole solar system. So if you look at it, if we limit ourselves to not being gods and just existing as mortals with still having the connection of being gods, then we can still design that creation in our minds and dedicate it or contribute it to the collective unconscious or the collective conscious, but there's less to rebuild.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like comparing kids arguing over something to presidents of a country arguing over something. It was like, well, okay, we've decided that, we've come to an agreement after 5 cities were leveled.
Yeah. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get a coffee.
Right.
For the kids, they're like, yeah, we came to agreement after I squeezed his nose. Or they squeezed each other's noses. But yeah, that's the concept that I came up with. Is like, we have this a reason to create, and we're all have our own ideas of what that might be. And with us doing it this way, there's less to rebuild as compared to
Right.
all of us
So,
being like Thanos or, you know, some
so I was
massive
curious,
galactic or whatever his name is.
all this stuff that we talked about, I think could be interesting to put into writing. And I've been, working on this writing project for a long time, and I'm getting close to being ready to publish something, but I'd like to have, somebody, maybe some people to check it out and see what they think. And
Oh, okay. Send it to me. I'll take a look at it. I've done some proofreading and editing for one person.
oh, that's cool.
Didn't really ask me. They didn't really. I didn't ask them for anything to do it or anything. But whenever they published the book, they're like, of course, I'd spent like about 3 months going through it and proofing it and editing it. So. But as far as just reading it goes, that's no big deal. But yeah, with that one that took me like 3 months, he's like, "Well, let me at least give you a copy."
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, that's
I
cool."
don't.
And
I had the
have
weirdest
money.
experience today.
I got a PDF copy of the first book. I did like that. But yeah, I'd love to see that.
Fucking today.
What was a weird experience?
Fucking somebody just emailed me a fucking like grimoire or whatever. Grimoire, yeah. Fucking just, I have no clue who it is. I don't really give out my email.
Right.
And there's just some fucking weird book on my shit. Like, I'm gonna end up reading this book like pretty fucking quick.
What was it? What was it?
Here, I'll send it. Give me 1 second. It was fucking weird though, and it's like something stars.
What?
Yeah, it's something fucking. You'd like the name of it.
I don't know. Let me see this motherfucker.
Okay, here, I can actually pop it on this shit. I need to get better at that fucking shit. Here you go.
I don't know. Yeah, show it on the screen. Grimoire.
Never heard of it.
Never.
Yeah, it's only 22 pages, but like that's some random ass shit right there.
It's probably some nonsense bullshit, but
Guides
it
to
looks
the
like
Underworld. Count Abaka.
That
What?
looks pretty fucking cool.
it
No
looks
idea that-
legit.
Yeah, this is all
looks
like Egyptian shit.
Whoa.
No, it's not. It's Thelemic. It's Aleister Crowley stuff.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Why the fuck would... Yeah.
Oh, it's an analysis of the Stele Revealing. It's an esoteric analysis of the Stele Revealing, which is the symbol of Thelema.
Okay, that makes sense. But that's probably what Thelema's based on. Well,
it is. Yeah, it is.
Crowley was so all over the place, though.
You should send me it.
Okay.
I'm using my mystical. I'm using Thelemic gods, the Thelemic Trinity, as my tantric deities. So I'm interested in seeing that.
Huh.
Okay. Yeah,
Have you guys ever heard of the book Tantric Thelema by Sam Webster?
Ooh.
No, I haven't.
No, he actually does kind of what I was talking about with using the Egyptian deities for tantric deities, but he's using it in a Thelemic context, and I think it works really well. But I kind of want to take away the concept of Thelema with it. But
well, like I was
like
telling, me and Tony talk about this a lot. is like you need to take all these systems and make your own. Like me personally, like I'll call myself a Gnostic or Hermetic magician, but I'm not. I like to call myself like legitimately a leaf on the wind, which means I follow spirit.
I just used the word eclectic.
Well, that's
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah. It's,
Well, it's a
sounds
definition
more
most
lame.
people know.
Dude, you have to, because like even just saying a Gnostic Hermetic, fucking I'm into Gnostic and Hermetic, 90% of people go, what?
Right.
Yeah. It sounds like stereo instructions.
Yeah, like right?
I like Leaf on the Wind sounds better.
Yeah,
I
that's
like-
cool as shit. My favorite part about it, I don't know if you guys have seen Serenity.
Oh yeah.
Like I was listening to that in meditation, and I actually got the name for what I like to call spirit is Whispering Wind. And I got that from Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. Your stairway lies on the whispering wind. So that was
I used to call myself Hidutu, which is like he is drawn out of the water.
That's
Hidutu,
cool.
because
I like that.
it's Moses. It's Moses.
Okay, yeah, Moses.
Remember
You know
the story of
that
Moses?
that's
Dude, I used to be the
persona.
hugest Moses fan, but like that guy's kind of a piece of shit.
Oh, come on. What the fuck?
He kind of is. He was evil. He kind of does a 360 though.
Yeah. I mean, aren't we all evil?
Yeah.
I'm more evil than he is. I fucking get in arguments with women all the time. Fucking
When
punch
he
my
was
dog.
fucking Egyptian, he was pretty
Mhm.
bad. He would go enslave like whole continents and shit.
I have no response to that.
I don't either.
It's like, what the
I don't know. But when I was a kid, I
don't
loved
know.
Moses. I was between Luke Skywalker and Moses. Those were my heroes.
Yeah.
Well, what I thought was really cool about Moses when I found out was I was just mentioning it, is Moses is actually Egyptian also. It's not just
Yeah.
Hebrew. And
Mhm.
Moses in Egyptian means son of. Like Ramesses, that's Ramses. That's what that means.
Yep.
Son of Ra. So
It's like
with
the Pharaoh Tuthmosis. Tuthmosis.
yeah. Son
Yeah.
of Tut.
Moses is a real thing. Yeah, man. I love Egyptian shit.
Yeah, Egyptian's pretty epic. But yeah,
It's really hard to find like true Egyptian shit though.
I don't want to get too
Now
much.
you gotta go learn Egyptology.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's the only way.
Well, my lesser banishing ritual is written in fucking Egyptian. Like my words are I am wind, I am water, I am, and then I think spirit. I do an Isis ritual at the end.
Well, I noticed the vibration of the names is really awkward if you use the Greek versions of the Egyptian names. But if you use the actual Egyptian names, it sounds way better and it flows better.
Mhm.
Like saying Osiris is kind of awkward,
Yeah.
But if you're just like Osar, it just sounds better.
Right. But that makes a huge difference. It's like we were just talking about as far as enjoying it. And it's also verbally too. If you enjoy the sound that you're making, then it's going to have more energy behind it. If you don't like that sound, then it's not going to.
Mhm.
See, I think you could use like Om Mani Padme Om too, or like the Hindu Kundalini.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Those are vibrational. You can feel them.
Well, it's like in the lesser banishing ritual, the hexagram, they use EIO.
Yeah.
And that is really awesome.
That shit cracks me up because like
Mhm.
Golden Dawn is so Christian mysticism, and then once you get in the hexagram, it's a fucking 180.
It goes into Egyptian, yeah. But you got to think about that. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, and that whole neophyte process is to introduce people slowly from one religion
I can see
into
that.
other religions.
I can
So it's a
totally see that.
systematic process
That could
from
be.
one grade to another, from the neophyte, zealotore, whatever, to
Oh
philosophy.
man, don't get me started on the fucking pentagram ritual. I'll be sitting here all night.
We should do
Well, there's
just
so
an
many
episode
different
on that.
variations.
You know, you're gonna talk about the Kabbalistic analysis or like the purpose of the ritual or like anything really. I mean, just we could sit here all night talking about. We should do that one.
We should definitely do more of these. Like this,
Yeah, just
this right here's been gold tonight.
certain rituals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
gonna
that's
have
pretty
to
much where I get my motto from, is Lux Informa, light and expression. But it's the Lux as in LVX from the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram.
It's good stuff. It's powerful if you know what you're doing.
Purpose.
Oh yeah.
Very, very, very powerful. It's like one of
See,
the
that's the issue I have with all these orders is you're not analyzing till years and years in. You should be analyzing from day fucking one.
Yeah,
why
that's
am
why
I
like,
fucking turning east and fucking doing this? Why am
that's
I
why I like
doing
modern,
this?
you gotta have right.
modern magic, is because he started like day one, started really getting into it. And our very first lesson had the relaxation ritual. Next lesson was a tarot contemplation ritual. Next lesson was a split hexagram spread. And you just constantly, building and building and building upon that until your daily practice, your daily routines. And of course, then it goes into the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram.
Which one I really hate so bad is Franz Barden's initiation into hermetics and the fucking evocation one. Oh god, I fucking hate those so bad. I'm just gonna sit there and like look at the wall. Like fuck you. Oh my god, it was terrible. It was like
I wasn't crazy about that. I've got that PDF, and I'm not real crazy.
So boring.
Well, I've got like 350 different PDFs. It was just ones that I collected, but I happened to I read through it, and I'm like, yeah, no.
Well, and then he wants you to make a wand and like put fluid inside of it and shit. It's like, shut the fuck up. Just go cut a branch off a tree on Wednesday, Just get it over with.
Or use your finger.
Or that.
I like that with Craig. He talked about that in Modern Magic. He's like, if you don't have a wand, just use your finger.
Use your finger.
I got fluid in my finger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got fluid in your finger? What kind of fluid? Blood. Oh
See,
my God, let's do
tool,
some blood magic with my finger.
Connect to those elements. Why the fuck not just tell you that? Fucking, if I can analyze, oh, this is why I have a fucking fire wand. Oh, this is why I fucking have a chalice.
Golden Dawn, 1888, the time period. You have to keep in mind what they were dealing with at that time. They had to find out who they could trust. They didn't want to give too many people too much information before they found out whether or not they could trust them and be like, oh, well, all we're doing is doing some ceremonial, Christian magic, Christian ritual.
Now, the Golden Dawn stems from Freemasons, basically, right?
No.
The Rosicrucians, they come, the Rosicrucian, at least the order of the Rosicrucians, the Alpha et Omega, the RRNAC, I believe is what it is. That is the inner order of the Golden Dawn.
Yeah.
Now, the Rosicrucians, there's a chance that John Dee, he apprenticed Francis Bacon, and that Francis Bacon took the Rosicrucian knowledge that he was taught from John Dee, along with other types of knowledge, other systems of magic, including Hermetics, and started the Freemasons as a spin-off of the Knights Templar. But as far as the evidence goes, I can't tell you that there is any.
Yeah.
I've heard all that shit. I don't really believe
So
any of
yeah,
that. I'm
it's just
pretty
like
sure that.
alleged.
Yeah, nah. I think that they were doing the, the whatever it's called, the Rosicrucian stuff. I can't remember what it was called exactly. Uh, the order, Alpha et Omega or whatever the hell. And then they just were learning about Kabbalah. They didn't even know that much stuff.
No, they
And
were
then
just
they
gathering all they could find
whatever
on
they
it.
knew. Yep, they took whatever they knew. But you know what? It was fucking genius. The way that they created the cipher manuscript and the way that they formed these rituals. Like, where the fuck? How are they gonna come up with this pentagram ritual shit and the hexagram ritual shit? How are they gonna come up with this stuff? It's absolutely genius.
Yeah.
But the chances that they got it, like, because like, oh, they wrote to some Sprengel chick or whatever, that's a bunch of bullshit, and it's been debunked. It's not true.
Even today, that Griffin, he refers to the secret chiefs, and to me, that kind of, I don't know, that kind of turned me off as far as the Golden Dawn. I mean, I've studied a lot and followed a lot of the Golden Dawn, but whenever you come right down to it, they're getting their information from the secret chiefs, which aren't on this plane. So how are we to even, to say that they're not just pulling this shit up out of their ass, basically?
And
but you know what?
Both is probably true.
But then you get to the point of the morphic field that I was talking about again, so maybe there is some truth to it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, how the rituals are so fucking genius and how they work so fucking well. Maybe they did receive it from some,
divine source.
Quite possible.
Yeah.
Dude, and it's probably both true. It's like I said about making your own fucking path. What works for you works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily you guys. But like fucking you get that divine wisdom and shit works for you. Cause I totally, the Golden Dawn system does not work very well.
Yeah, it's not my thing either. That's why I just basically went into hell, I studied magic of all sorts for about 35 years, and now I'm just like, it all works. So why complicate it? I'm just gonna call myself a witch and
if you believe in
most
yourself,
of it from my head.
Believe it works. It fucking works.
Yeah, it works. And you just really have to get beyond that doubt. Once you get beyond that doubt, boom, it's done.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've had stuff manifest on my driveway.
Oh, for
out in
sure.
the middle of the country. I mean, just like people show up and manifest what I needed to happen and connections and stuff that I needed for my networking to drive up in my driveway, 70 miles from where they live.
Yeah.
Because they were like, a friend of mine was delivering a bag to me. Of course, I paid him for the trouble. But yeah, he happened to have his brother-in-law with him, and his brother-in-law had connections that I needed for something more career-oriented. And sure enough, right on my driveway. And I was like, wow, I just like passed this spell last night. And here they are.
Dude, for real. I mean,
driveway.
Before I was into magic, I was a master manifester. I was better at manifesting a couple years ago than I fucking am now. But like, and that the shit part about it is with magic, if you can create your reality with your mind, bring in fucking all this shit you want and do all you want. There's that fucking opposite to that too. I found myself making my life a living hell just by my thoughts.
Oh yeah, definitely. You can totally make it go the other direction too.
Yeah,
totally.
That's why magic is 90% fucking working on yourself.
Well, it's also discipline. It's disciplining the mind. That's what, to me, that's what the meditation is for, is so that you can, maintain a discipline with your, well, I can't think of any other way to put it. You maintain a discipline of your mind so that you don't think of random stuff. And if you do, you catch yourself and you're like, no, I'm not putting that out there. I take it back. I bring it back into me. I do not release it out. If anything, now I have an opportunity to put the intention that I do want out there. And anytime you think of something negative, just go back and be like, no, I stop that right there, and then I'm going to put forth this positive idea of what I want to manifest.
Yep.
And then just let it go, leave it alone, drop it. Don't think about it after that, and it happens. But anytime you start thinking about it again, if that does happen, then do the same thing. But
you know what I just thought of that's a good method for that? Laugh at it.
Laugh, yeah, I've done that before.
God, that sounds like it'd be perfect because
it is.
So supposedly that's the one thing that's outside the law of polarity is laughter.
And I've gotten onto myself too.
Yeah.
I've
experienced
it. I have. I like.
That reminds me.
I was wanting to get weed one the other night, and I hadn't gotten high for like 2 years, and I was like, tonight I will be smoking weed. Okay.
That was fucking hilarious, dude.
That was funny, man. That was like 2 o'clock in the morning. At 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm calling the person, talking to them for the first time, and they're like, whatever he wants, I got it. I got it covered. So I talked to my dad about it and got it all taken care of. Didn't know if that was going to happen. Everything fell into place. And that night I was getting high.
What were you saying, Joseph?
Sorry. No, yeah, go ahead.
What? Oh.
About manifesting.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, no, about the laugh thing.
Oh, the laughter.
It's like, yeah, and I think you're right about like the one thing that's like the highest thing, it's like when I was taking shrooms, and I entered this state of like hypnosis where like there's just this big ass fucking mandala and it was just whirling around and I'm going inside of it. There's another fucking mandala, same.
That's fucking
and I was laughing. No, dude, I was laughing and because it was like a ride and I was going on this ride and it was like, and it was making me laugh and I don't know why. Like, cause I wasn't like, oh shit. I was laughing. And I feel like I was in this really like almost like enlightened state. Like if you look at people are meditating or like pictures of people meditating, they always like smiling and laughing.
Yeah. You remember when you first got high, like back in the day when you first started getting high and you'd experience that? Like, I don't know, at least that was with me.
Oh, dude, the first time I got high, got sick.
Laugh.
Yeah, what happened to that weed? I live in Colorado. We got all the weed. Where's the fucking laughing weed?
The sour diesel.
The website
that's like, dude, if you look at the numbers of like sour diesel, like the old shit back in the day, it ain't shit to what we have now.
Oh, huh. Well, you have to think about it. Now it's legal, so people can grow it and like really put some effort into it. And the weed that we have today would knock a hippie on their ass.
Yeah, like I mostly do wax now, and dude, that shit's like 90%
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's a different high though. Like,
yeah.
You're not like, I guess if you did a good indica. But
yeah, can you send me some fucking indica?
Fuck it.
I'll be down.
I don't want to send it, but
I'm just kidding.
Especially doing it in a fucking podcast. You can't personal message that shit, motherfucker.
No, we should just talk and some crack.
Well, it's just like earlier. It was 4:20, right?
Yeah.
Today, and I was like, "Fuck, man, I ain't got any weed." I mean, it just sucks. I'm so pissed because it's yet another year that I've had, and it's 4:20, and I don't have anything. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna forget about it. I'll get some bud when I get some. I found a nugget. I literally found a nugget, like fucking someplace that I swear I have looked and over and over, and there was nothing there, and this nugget just appeared out of nowhere on my desk.
Dude, that's because you're doing Spirit's work. You trust Spirit. Your fucking whole life is just set up.
I mean, I guess it was stuck there. It was probably somewhere, but I just, you know,
You manifested that shit.
I mean, no way that it just like appeared out of nowhere. I know how magic works, but I mean, but yeah, I think I was stuck on something like under my mouse pad or something, and then I broke it loose and it popped over that way. Like, what the hell is that? Like, damn, that's a butt.
Well, have you ever heard of this Wu Wei concept of inertia? That the more you get into it, and the more you do the work, the less you have to do.
Oh, dude,
And
100%.
there's this concept of the eighth principle of Hermetic philosophy. So like there's 7, you know, but the 8th one is like the concept of mastery, where it's like you don't even have to do anything. Like if you're cold, there'll be like a warm wind that will just come and warm you, you know.
Oh, dude, I was like that for a while. Like, fucking, I think that's one of the reasons I'm really good at magic is I trust the fuck out of Spirit. I know the shit part about when you get to a point in magic is like, you know, everything is happening for a fucking reason. So you stop fucking asking for shit. So you're like, I'm going to get what I fucking want anyway.
Yeah.
Well, with me, I look at it as the permission thing. Unless you announce to existence or yourself or what have you, your higher self, whatever, that you give permission, you know, that you are asking or you are decreeing that this will happen because you want it to, then you are putting your will out there. But outside of that, it is totally up to us. You know, it's like what that song with on Rush. You know, even if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. And that's what they're talking about. Is like, yeah, I will choose above the sphere. I will choose free will. Um, where if you don't have that free will, then what are we but just automatons that are being taken care of? You know, so there has to be some rule there that says, well, you know, we can't help this person, or we can't do anything for this person, or existence can't manifest for this person unless they allow it.
Yeah.
Unless they ask for it or whatever. You know, if it's a religion, you ask for it. If it's witchcraft or magic, you invest in it. You set intentions. You know, but there is that process involved that that makes it so there's an okayal. There is like an agreement sort of thing with the universe that okay, this is going to happen because the free will of that person has chosen it.
Yeah.
See, but I don't know. I look at it the other way, like because I believe in free will, but I also believe in predestination.
I do too.
And I think that if things like this happen, or like if you reach a certain state or a certain stage, and you reach like what we call the house of God, that you are invited to that house.
Yeah.
And along, you know, before you're even born, like you're invited to that house. But it's up to you to accept that invitation. So even if you receive something or whatever that you had asked for, I think that you were ultimately invited to receive that long time ago.
Yeah. I think it has to do with our having our free will, and then the predestination or you know, chosen destination, divine destiny, whatever you want to call it. But that's our soul. There's a way. This is totally just. This is just me. This is how I look at it. We have our soul, and our soul wants to experience a certain number of things in this lifetime that we will experience or we will experience.
Well, I was just gonna say
there is no getting around it, you know.
is
It's not like, hold on, it's not like we don't have a choice in the matter, because we do.
yeah.
But when it comes to our soul is saying, this is what I want to experience. And it's still free will. But as far as our body is concerned, we see it as like predestination. It's like, dude, this is something I have to do because it's predestined. But does that mean my whole life is? Well, no, just those particular things that the soul wants to experience. And then after that, it's totally part of our body to experience whatever it is we wish. And then we have free will. But otherwise, yeah, we have that kind of set, and the soul will, that seems like predestination, and technically it is for our body, but for our soul, it's just what we want to experience. As far as the soul existing with God, it does right now. We are just expressions of our soul. The soul hasn't, as far as I'm concerned, has not disconnected from source.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
It's like a reaching out, and it's that source reaching out with all of the sparks. Simsum, I believe, is what they might be called in some faith, Kabbalah maybe. But at any rate, yeah, these sparks, these of God, they're still connected to the source, and then we're connected to those sparks. You see, so we're all connected to that one source, but we also have our individuality.
Yeah. I was gonna say on what you guys were talking about, like predestiny. Have you ever gone through those like life lessons? You know, it's a fucking life lesson where you keep fucking repeating it like 2 or 3 times.
Spiral
You're
back
like,
around.
oh, this is the same fucking cycle.
Different truths, deeper truth, same lesson. Yeah. Well, it's just like the circle of the Torah. Yeah.
Like my laundry keeps piling up, but I don't ever do it, and I'm like, God damn it, why don't I ever organize my life?
You ever Freighter Xavier, did I say it right?
Yeah.
He has this perfect thing he says about a cluttered mind, or a cluttered temple is a cluttered mind. And dude, that clicked with me. That was one of those eureka moments where, like, dude, you should clean your shit, because like you're using parts of your brain analyzing all this shit around you. Like, so
your environment.
Well, and another thing I wanted to fucking say, you were talking about earlier, Tony. Fucking, are you saying Rush has a different song than fucking Tom Sawyer?
Yeah, a couple. Yeah, one of them, they got an album with a pentagram on it, or pentagram on the cover.
Dude, they have divine knowledge. A lot of bands.
Yeah,
Jimmy fucking Page. Jimmy Page was a better magician than fucking Crowley any day of the week.
I don't know that for sure, but it seems like he was pretty well versed in what he did. I mean, he had to keep it kind of on the low, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he says what he knows.
His musical magic was on point, but the crowd did it in private, you don't know.
Yeah.
Or like, all the secrets that were revealed in silence will remain in silence,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's a reason fucking Stairway to Heaven's the #1 song ever.
That's a good song.
Dude, it's totally about spirit. Like, you finding your divine self. This is exactly what we've been talking about all night.
And the guitar is a stairway. That's the thing. Yeah. That's Jimmy Page right there. That guitar is a stairway. I don't know if you've ever been high and listened to Stairway to Heaven.
I never even thought of that.
Staircase, and you can walk up that guitar.
I wish I could.
It is. I guess it was a moment, but yeah, I was like, and it's like as he was walking up the neck of that guitar, or down the neck of that guitar, or back and forth, you could walk up that stairway with him. And
there's a verse from that song that is just perfect.
It's just amazing for you to be able to take music and create that effect. Jimi Hendrix was good at creating effects like that, but my God, that is insane being able to
Dude,
say,
All
oh,
Along the Watchtower has to be a fucking magic song.
oh yeah, yeah, that was written by Bob Dylan whenever he
Oh,
was
was it real? Oh, that makes sense. Bob
with the
Dylan was
bird.
a Gnostic, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was, yeah.
Yeah, because he's the one that does the song too. Whoa.
I think that's me
I
on
wish
my,
I
because
could see
I don't have
that.
my speaker.
Oh, you're cool. That was me yelling. Is this what I sound like all the time?
You can't even whisper.
Yeah.
This is normal shouting. He's like, "Oh,
Well, my dad's hard of
guys, you
hearing,
know
so if
what?"
I have a tendency to yell, that's probably why. Of
Say
course,
what,
so is my
Tony?
brother, too. Huh?
What'd you say? I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm talking about microwave. Because I was afraid it was me. As my dad is hard of hearing, and
Oh, yeah.
so is my brother. Of course, we work in a shop, but I always put cotton in my ears whenever we're grinding and shit like that, so I can take them out. So
Yeah.
I can take the cotton out and be like, oh, okay, now I can hear. But without that, yeah, you get pretty bad ears from it. So if I have a tendency to yell, that's why.
Oh, no. I was saying I yell all the time.
Because if I blow you out of here, sometimes that's why I do it. Because it's like a tendency for me to yell.
I think I'm just naturally soft-spoken, sort of my.
I noticed that, man. You're really soft spoken. I was like, damn it, I thought I was supposed to be transgender too. This motherfucker's talking softer than I
Yeah, I
am. No,
don't know.
that's cool. That's cool.
I'm
That's
thinking
epic.
about
I like
this.
that.
Um, Earlier when we were talking about stuff, I was thinking about like this transgender thing, how transforming, oneself into Vajrayogini, which was like the highest yoga, right? I mean, come on. This is like, do you ever think about people who possibly purposely try to become a transgender, even though like they don't really feel like inside that they're necessarily a female, but like they just do it as like an exercise,
Oh
It
yeah, that's really
reminds me.
common with shamanism. It was real common
Mhm.
for shamans to cross dress to and for that purpose for um I guess
Really?
it's more of an authenticity thing for
Which
them to know
tradition
each
is
other.
that?
What's that?
Which tradition is that?
It's Native American shamanism.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's real common for shamans to cross dress and just do a bunch of wild stuff, just to stand out of the norm for the most part. It's kind of like that whole Crowley-esque type of mentality to get beyond the conditioning
Yeah.
of what
Mhm.
we're
Absolutely.
raised as, and to move beyond that.
Well, I was telling you that thing the other time where I think Twin Flame is like totally you. It is
Yeah, it's
making,
you know,
and everybody fucking talks about that bullshit.
and getting along with yourself, basically.
Yeah. Realizing you're both polarities.
Hmm. Yeah, that took me forever to do that too, because at one time I really just could like call myself a trans woman, but then I was like, I'm my motto is lux in forma, and if I limit my form, then I'm limiting the infinite, you know, because that's what I see myself as. So I have to remove those limitations and go one step further, from not just knowledge but on into wisdom,
Yep.
and coming to a realization of that. And just like Joseph was talking earlier about the divine feminine having masculine qualities, that divine masculine and divine feminine, and that the Osiris and Isis concepts are fine if you want to look at them separate, but at the same time, they're expressions of the same thing.
Yeah.
Whenever you get right down to it, there is an Isis and Osiris, and then there's an Osiris and Isis. So,
Well, it reminds me of
Horus.
Liber Semek, Liber Semek, the bornless ritual.
Yeah.
And actually it was originally the headless ritual, and I think it's because it's thou art the one who createst the night and the day, the male and the female, the seed and the fruit, and like there's no difference between the seed and the fruit,
Yeah.
and the male and female, and I think it's just transcend all of that,
What's that
to
Greek legend with the hermaphrodites that were stronger than the gods?
I've
guys...
never heard.
Oh yeah, so supposedly like Zeus creates man, and man is like has two heads, fucking two everything, doubles everything, like four legs, fucking, so anyway, it's like way more powerful than the gods. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna fucking split these things, and that's how men and women were made in Greek legend. But look at that as Gnosticism too. You got fucking Samael who creates fucking man and goes, oh shit, why is this thing fucking better than me? Let me fuck it up. Gonna need you guys to say something fucking now. We got awkward space.
I was just kind of like processing it. I was like listening to it and thinking about what you were saying. I was processing it while I was processing it. Everybody else was quiet.
I processed this shit a while ago. You fucking my game up.
But I'm still stuck on the four-legged human, man.
Yeah, I think it has four legs, but it's more of the concept behind it.
Right, yeah.
And then that's what a lot of pasts don't realize is you're not supposed to be worshiping most of these gods. You're supposed to be one with them,
right.
brothers.
Right. Well, there's several different stories at least I know Greek myth, where people are become gods.
Yeah.
They're set up to become immortal, I guess you could say. There's they've even got a drink that if you take a drink of it, you become a god.
That's mead.
Ambrosia. Mead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's just fucking right.
Made from honey.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's ambrosia, and of course, there's speculations about what that's made from, the nectar of the gods.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. And if you drink the nectar of the gods, then you become a god. Pharaohs in Egypt, what happened with them? They were exalted to godhood.
Yep.
Whether or not it was a male pharaoh or a female pharaoh, it didn't matter. Even though some of the temple priests weren't crazy about female pharaohs, there were some. And
well, back in the day, it was like an equal as fuck.
It was what?
Equal as fuck.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, it was more matriarchal. Back in the earlier days of Kemet, which I'm sure Joseph, he's pretty familiar with Egypt. He probably knows that even the Egyptian men, they wore wigs also, but as they reached, if their wife let them wear their wig, or wear an effeminate wig, they were seen more prominent as far as their stature goes, because they all respected that divine feminine that we're talking about.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Then that's been lost. That's been not lost, but I don't like using the word suppressed because that's not what it is. But I
think it was though. I think
maybe it is suppressed, but that's not all that was suppressed. It's like in that what we was talking about in chat. That was just part of it. But yeah, some of it has been suppressed in that nature, and I think that's what a lot of it is. The
whole aspect of this has been fucked for 500 years.
Right, but it's still hidden there. Mother Mary. The whole nunnery thing. All those the sisters, I mean, Marion Zimmer Bradley's got an awesome book out called The Mists of Avalon. And that's one thing that she basically puts forth is the idea that these nunneries are old, like sisterhoods.
Yeah.
That were worshipped, you know, the divine feminine, and that's
Yeah.
of course what they do focus on, the Mother Superior,
Yeah, and
the
I guess
Mother
you could
Mary.
look at Mary that way. Is like Mary could be fucking ISIS.
Yeah, well, Mary Magdalene.
Yep, that's what I'm talking about.
Magdalene is a title. The
Oh
Mage of
wow.
the Valley, the Dale, Mage of the Dale. She's Mary Magdalene, Mage of the Dale, a priestess of the Dale.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's what she was called, was the Magdalene, not Mary Magdalene or Mary Magdala, but literally the Magdalene. And in a lot of different traditions, she is only referred to as the Magdalene.
Yeah. Huh.
The high priestess of the Dale, of the Valley.
You still here, Joseph? We lose him?
I guess so.
That's cool.
I don't know. I haven't looked lately. Yeah, I guess.
Oh yeah, he's gone. I bet his phone died.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he said his phone was dying.
Yeah.
Oh well, we got to record it so he can finish listening to it.
Yeah, fucking. I think this is good right here anyway.
Yeah, it is. This was a really interesting session, I guess is what you would call it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm gonna stop it.